I recently found myself with a spare 2.5 kilogram brisket flat and I wanted to make pastrami. I've never done this before, so I thought I'd ask AI. In this video I will be following along to its every instruction on how to brine, smoke and serve my pastrami. Now this is notoriously not the simplest cook in the world, so will artificial intelligence be able to guide me through to nail this absolute classic? Let's find out. After buying myself a full pack of brisket from an online butcher, I wanted to cook the point separately because this tends to be the best bit. If you want to see how I got on, check out last week's video, but it left me with this 2.5 kilogram brisket flat. Now I don't like to cook this along with the whole brisket because it does tend to dry out a bit, and I think there are better things that you can do with it, like make pastrami. But I haven't made it before, but instead of watch a YouTube video I thought I'd ask ChatGPT. So I opened a new chat and wrote, I have a brisket flat I would like to make into pastrami. I have never done this before, so I need your help. I have a pellet smoker to cook it in and should have all the equipment and ingredients to hand. The brisket flat I have is about 2.5 kilogram and is from a British grass-fed cow. Please give me step-by-step instructions on how to make it. And it did just that, giving me a 6-stage plan of how to make pastrami myself on my smoker. It gave me a list of all the ingredients that I would need, the timings everything would take, and even offered to write me a shopping list or publish the instructions as a PDF. How kind. Now I could tell straight away this was going to be a long process because step 1, the cure, is 7 to 10 days. So let's get on with it. For the brine, I am instructed to use a non-reactive container, plastic, glass or a food grade bag. I have this plastic catering container available, so I'm going to use that, which allows me to easily measure out the first ingredient, 2 litres of water. This will form the base for which I'll add everything else too, starting off with some salt, 100 grams to be exact. And oh, that is exact. Look at that, 100 grams on the dot. You've got to take pleasure in the small things in life. At least that's what I tell Mrs. Barbecue. I transfer everything into a cooking pot because I realise I might have to cook this brine. And then bring up our next ingredient, which is 80 grams of dark brown soft sugar. The next ingredient on the list, however, was Prague powder. I couldn't find it for the life of me, so I asked GPT, do I really need it? It only said to use a little bit. Surely I can replace it with just regular salt? But it turns out no, you do need it. Without it, your pastrami won't turn pink and will technically be salted beef and you can't brine it for as long. It also says it prevents botulism. And when I check my list of things I really don't want to get, they're under B, yep, botulism. So, curing salt it is. Ordered this off Amazon, I'll put a link in the description so you can get it yourself. Only put me behind by one day. With just 15 grams of that in, we're ready to move on to the aromatics, starting with black peppercorns. 2 tablespoons of those, and then coriander seeds. Mustard seeds. Then 4 fresh garlic cloves, which it says smashed. I'm entirely sure what you're supposed to use to smash them, so yep. That'll do. Then to finish, some bay leaves. Now I wasn't sure whether I should cook this brine or not, so I asked GPT, and it gave me 2 options, but the recommended one was to cook it and then cool it down with ice, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Onto the hob, nice big stir, and then leave until bubbling. And once all that salt is nicely dissolved, it can come off. Now we don't want to add the hot brine directly to the meat and then leave it for ages to cool down to go in the fridge, so it suggested we use some ice cubes. So I put in about half a pack of ice, hoping that would cool it down to the right temperature. But even when all the ice was melted, it was still showing 37 degrees. Perfect for a human, not so good for a brine. So I got myself an ice pack from the freezer and just submerged it for a while, see if it would cool it all down. Which it did. Once it was down to around room temperature, I knew we were ready to go. Then we can take our brisket flat, which has been in the fridge for about a day, pop it into our non-reactive container, then we're ready to cover it in this beautiful smelling brine. There was just enough brine to fully submerge my brisket flat, which I suppose GPT had just figured out for me already. And that is the first part done. Brine is fully set up. Just put the lid back on and then it is in the fridge for its very long sentence of 7 to 10 days. I have of course brined things before, but never for 10 days. That takes some planning. I had to cancel a weekend away, so I was in to cook this thing. And it's important you don't go away, because every other day you are going to be back in that fridge, taking it out and turning it round so that brine evenly distributes over the whole brisket flat. Or at least that's what the faceless computer thing told me to do, so I just dumbly followed its every instruction. And hopefully they'll remember that when they take over the world. Step 2 is desalination, if I'm at all pronouncing that right. It says optional but recommended. Well, I'm going to take his recommendation and get me some desalination on. Basically, it's to get rid of some of that salt so it's not over-seasoned. And to do this, all we're going to do is take it out, pour away that old brine, and to be honest, this is looking pretty grim at this point in the cook. Looks like a bit of dead human meat or something, but I'm sure it'll turn out lovely. Trust in the machines. To be fair, you can see that it's getting that nice sort of pinky colour like the inside of a pastrami, so hopefully this brine that I've done for the last 10 days has actually worked. Still, only one way to find out, so let's continue with the desalination process. So, first things first, you want to rinse your brisket. Just do it under a cold tap and rinse all over, get all those little bits off. Pour away the old brine. And then replace with fresh cold water. Your brisket is going to sit in this cold water for 4 to 6 hours because nothing, and I mean nothing, happens quickly when you're making pastrami. Don't plan yourself a day out though, because you're going to be back halfway through to take it out and change the water. Well, I am. For you it's going to take about 6 seconds. And once your 6 hours are up and you have finished the desalination process, it's time to just get it out and dry it off a little bit. And with that all nice and dry, we're ready for the next step. Step 3 promises us we're making that classic pastrami crust. It gives us a nice list of ingredients and tells us exactly how to do it, so let's crack on. Starting off by coating it with some American mustard. And then we can mix together our ingredients for our rub, starting off in a mortar and pestle some coriander seed. These are the same that we bought earlier for the brine. You just whack in 2 tablespoons and grind them up. With those nicely ground, it's time to whack them into a pot and then you can mix them with your other ingredients. First off, 2 tablespoons of ground black pepper, tablespoon of smoked paprika, teaspoon of garlic granules, 1 further teaspoon of onion powder, and then finally a teaspoon of mustard powder. With all those in, it's time to give the thing a good shake. And there we have our pastrami rub. And to be fair, this rub really does smell of classic pastrami. Having applied a nice even coat all over the brisket, it is time to put this thing onto a drying rack because it is going to go into the fridge once more, this time completely uncovered. The recipe asks us to leave it in the fridge uncovered overnight to dry the surface, which apparently will help the bark formation. Now, I actually accidentally left this in the fridge for 2 nights, not just the one, because I had something come up. So I asked ChatGPT, have I completely ruined this? And it says, no, actually, what you've inadvertently done is improve it. It will have had a chance to have a little bit of a dry brine, and that bark will be extra crusty. So there you go. If you accidentally leave an extra day, not a problem. I'll tell you what, I have no idea what I'm going to do with all this extra fridge shelf space when this thing finally leaves. Still, it's given my fridge a pleasant aroma over the last couple of days, and that bark really does look like it's set in nicely. And taking it out the fridge, this allows us to move on to our next step. That's right, 10 minutes into this video, we might actually finally get to cook something. Don't know about you, but I'm starving. However, we don't get to eat just yet because we're going to smoke this thing for 5 to 7 hours according to our instructions. So I take it out to the smoker. I'm using my Traeger pellet smoker. You could of course use any barbecue with a lid, set it for indirect heat and get the temperature running at 150 degrees Celsius. I'm going to use my internal thermometer on the Traeger to keep a track of the internal temperature. 150 on the grill, and the target for the internal temperature is 75 degrees for the first bit. Around 5.5 hours later, my thermometer was telling me it's 75 degrees. I check it with the handheld just to make sure, and it agrees. In the 5th step, it gives us the option to wrap or steam. We're just going to wrap because can't be bothered to steam it. I'm going to be using kitchen foil and just wrap it all up nice and tight. This is going to stay wrapped on the barbecue until the internal temperature reaches 95 degrees. After another 2.5 hours, that's exactly what it did, reaching 95. I check it with the handheld and it's also probing nice and tender. So it means it's time to come off and get ready for its final step. In this final step, it instructs me to rest it for at least an hour somewhere warmish, like a turned off oven, so that's what I do. And after giving it the full hour, it is finally time to actually slice into this thing. I have to say, at this stage from the outside, it looks absolutely fantastic and it is smelling amazing. Time to cut in and see what we have. I can feel already this thing is incredibly tender. The knife goes straight through. And on the inside, just look at that colour. Classic pastrami. This has without doubt been the longest cook I have ever done, and it has been a lot of effort and taken a lot of time, but just look at these results. Fresh, hot pastrami is very, very difficult to beat indeed. That Prague powder really did its job on this. It is consistently pink all the way through. It does that back of the knife bend test perfectly well, and then when you pull it, it just pulls straight apart with no resistance. I fully admit I do help myself to a few pieces here, but we are not done yet because ChatGPT has further instructions for us and we will do what we're told. Under serving suggestions, it has us make a classic Reuben. For this, we're going to need some rye bread, buttered of course, and some sauerkraut, trust me it works, some pickled sliced gherkins, not my homemade ones because I've used them all up actually, need to make some more, some yellow American mustard, and then finally a very generous helping of that pastrami. And wow, this stuff is delicious. You know, sometimes that shop-bought pastrami can taste a little bit dry. This is not like that at all. It just melts in your mouth. And there we have one classic Reuben sandwich with homemade pastrami. I don't know if this is the first Reuben in the world ever to be made by AI. Probably not, but it's certainly the first Reuben ever to be made by me. I have to say, for a first go, I'm very happy with it. It was delicious and everything I wanted it to be. However, it wasn't quite as good as GPT's next suggestion. With the leftovers, it suggested a cheese and pastrami toasty. So a few days later, the pastrami having been in a container in the fridge, I slice a few pieces off. Having been chilled, it is hardened up nicely, so it's very easy to get these nice thin slices out of it. And with a decent amount of pastrami cut off, it is time to butter my bread. We're going to butter on both sides. I grate myself some cheddar and start to build. I'm going to start off with my grated cheddar, top it up with my pastrami, and then top that off with some grated mozzarella. Other slice of bread on the top, and we are ready to fry this thing. I get myself a nice hot pan going and then press it in firmly, turning it occasionally. And here we go. Now, I absolutely love a cheese toasty, and doing it with pastrami was a fantastic idea. When the pastrami heats up again, the fat melts and it just falls apart in your mouth. Absolutely delicious. Now, if you've made it this far in what is a very long video, then thank you very much for sticking with me, and please do me a favour and give it a like. And I'll see you in the next video.